mean, Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like we got the all tournament team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I sure got 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance!
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you for the time. Yes, sir.
Sure, I'm a little late, boys, at the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's do it. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question, I thought, my God, if she gets offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast, no matter where we at, we live. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right.
Big day. Big day.
Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you for the time. Welcome into a Friday edition, our first Football Friday of Game Week edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from Click Here Digital's campus on Interline Avenue in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in between Drusilla and Airline Highway. We're brought to you daily by RMB Builders. Remember, over at RMB, they can custom build you a house. They can redesign a house for you, reconstruct a house for you, add on all of it, rmb-builders.com, or on Instagram, RMB Builders as well. And our phone line brought to you by Southern Regional Medical Center. As always, our friends over at Southern Regional Medical Center, you can find, of course, Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan, BJ and the crew, Real Doctors, Real Solutions over there. And you can get in touch with them online. We have got a really cool show for you coming up today. Obviously, we will react to football last night as we were able to see our first piece of SEC action as we saw Billy Napier and Florida and the Gators. It looks like it might be a long season for those of you in Gainesville, as Florida did not do anything good last night in Utah. I guess Grant the quarterback, Mertz didn't play bad, but it's all in all, the Florida effort and team just. It looks like it's going to be a long season.
The Utah punter deserves a trophy.
Yes.
He was pinning them deep. They didn't know where to catch it.
Guy was playing golf with
it
him,
was
man.
Unbelievable.
He was like spinning it
and everything
sideways. I mean, like,
it was checking, and then they would try to fair catch it, and they caught it inside the 5. They try to run it back. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Florida last night. And the worst part of it for Billy Napier, it all looks like it kind of falls on coaching.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know how many. It looks like he's going to have to give up the play calling duty here at some point because, I mean, like, they were struggling to get the play in on time.
It was loud.
I mean, it was just it was bad.
Bad
visually.
everywhere.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? The visual of it was bad. But Graham Mertz threw for over 300 yards. He did have a pick in the first half for Florida, but 24-11, it felt a lot worse than that.
It did.
It felt a lot worse than that. It didn't feel that close.
Great for the underbetters.
Yes, it was. It was. All right, we are going to we got a jam-packed show here. We're going to talk to Jake Crain in the second hour. We'll get a preview of the college football weekend. We'll talk to Crain about some of the games coming up, including TCU, Colorado tomorrow. Deion Sanders making his debut for Colorado against TCU. And we'll ask Crain what he thinks about that game. Obviously, South Carolina and North Carolina, and then the heavyweight fight between LSU and Florida State coming up here on Sunday evening. We will talk all about that game here throughout the first and second hour. Make sure and give us a like, share, and follow here on this Friday morning as we tell you we come to live from Click Here Digital's studio every single day here, Monday through Friday. Like, share, subscribe. All right, we're going to talk to Crain, as we said in the second hour. We're going to have our doctor conversation this week with Dr. Sean Bradley from Ochsner. We've been reminding everybody about football season. Obviously, high school football season is here on Friday nights. There was high school action all over the city and state last night. And just glance down on the sidelines and you see Ochsner. You see Ochsner all over the place. And we remind you about the Saturday Morning Grove complex where they have help for anybody that experiences injuries on a high school football field to come through there. 8 to 10:30 is the hours. And we link up now with Dr. Sean Bradley from Ochsner Sports Medicine and our great partner here on this Friday morning to give a little insight and a little reminder to our parents and to athletes about some of the services that are out there for you from our great partners over at Ochsner. Doc, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Jordy. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's great to see you. All right, so last night, high school football week 1 kicked off. It'll be all over this tonight, Friday nights, all over the state. And you guys do magnificent work on high school sidelines all over the state of Louisiana, all throughout the state. But remind our listeners about just some of the things that could pop up and some precautionary measures that they could take, Doc.
Yeah, I think the big thing we think about with the summer we had is obviously heat illness. And we've had a great relationship with the LHSAA to work with them to get our athletes as safe as possible, especially in these hot Louisiana days. It's kind of nice. I think the humidity is dropping off a little bit this week. So hopefully we won't see. But so far, that's been the big concern so far this year. The other thing we think about, obviously, from a primary care standpoint is concussion.
Yes.
That's, you're going to have them throughout the year. They're going to happen. And I think it's important for parents as well as coaches and athletes to all be aware of what those signs are and to be, forefront and trying to manage that to make sure their athletes are safe to return to play.
What are some of the things that parents and people on the sideline should be looking for?
Yeah, so obviously it's the hit, right? We all think of those big hits that happen. We sometimes applaud those things, but at the same times, when those helmet to helmet happen, if a player's getting up and looking a little abnormal after a tackle, maybe stumbling a little bit, coming off to the sideline, those are the times we need to pull them aside, have one of the athletic trainers or one of the physicians on the sideline to take a look at them. Generally symptoms can be pretty abrupt. It's headache, dizziness, confusion. But also sometimes they can be delayed. So that's really why it's important to pull someone aside and really take a good look at them.
And Doc, we've been reminding our listeners about the Saturday morning clinic that you guys are offering over at the Grove Complex. Yeah. Remind them about how they can find it, how they can get there, and what they get when they show up.
Yeah, so we're here. It's a walk-in basis. I think we're happy to see any athletes that need a little look at from the week or from Friday night. We're here at the Grove, right next to the Mall, Louisiana. 8 a.m. to 10:30. We have X-ray and physicians here helping to get you back to sport as quick as we can and get you going. So,
Dr. Sean Bradley, he's a great surgeon over at Ochsner, a great partner of ours. It was great to see you last week, Doc. Great to see you this morning. Keep up the great work, and we'll be touching base soon. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
You got
Have a good one, Jordy.
There he is, Dr. Sean Bradley checking in from Oster this morning. Great partners of ours. And remember, over at Oster, they offer tomorrow morning, the Saturday morning Grove Complex is open to any high school athletes that may get injured on a Friday night, or you just have something that may be nagging you that you just want to get through there and let the professionals see you. That's oshner.org /sports medicine to learn more online if you're looking for it. But shout out to Dr. Bradley this morning for stopping by. It was great to see him, and thanks to him for carving out some time. All right, so last night, Florida and Utah, we mentioned it didn't seem as close as the 24-11 count was the final. Opening play of the game, Utah, incredible play call.
Backup quarterback what?
Right right out the gate. Bryson Barnes steps into a 70-yard bomb and hits, what a great name, Money Parks. For Utah's first score of the season, comes on the first play of the year as the Utes go up 7-0 and the place is going bananas.
Bonkers.
I mean, it is a party.
It could not have worked out any better for Utah.
Oh my God.
You get
it was almost like they rode that wave all the way home.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the danger of playing these home and homes whenever first college football game of the year, and they were chomping at the bit to get in there. And even in Utah it was hot. It was over 100 degrees. It might be a factor for the fans. No shot. Those people were thumping in Utah. All those Bible belters didn't care. I don't know what they celebrate with, but in Utah, they were partying.
They're partying.
And for them to go 3 and out, and it was the hit on third down where he came up, the safety, I think it was second or third down, came up and just came across the middle and crushed him. The crowd goes crazy. Third down, they don't get it. Punt. Utah, first play, 70 yards. And they talked to the coach, Whittingham, and he's like, well, the last 2 years, I think we've run the ball on first down. I feel like it was a good time to mix it up.
Yeah, no, he put that thing in last Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about that, fellas.
I got
first
my new offense.
Play of the game.
We're going for the throat.
We're going at him. I mean, what a play call. And Barnes put that thing on the money. I mean, he never broke stride.
Put a bow on it.
I mean, he never broke stride. It was like a 70-yard handoff.
And then they took him out. And the little two, they obviously had a plan with the 2-quarterback system, but to have that throw be their first throw of the game, it could have gone either way for Utah at that point, because you don't know if you're going to break his confidence if you flip the field again, give it back to Florida. But it was the perfect call, perfect time, and it felt like college football was back in that 1 5-minute stretch.
It was an incredible atmosphere, an incredible play call. But I thought that the winner of last night, I thought the highlight of last night was none other than LSU beat tweet Glenn Gilbo.
Baton Rouge's finest.
Who fired out a tweet mid-game that he still believed Napier was the guy to beat A&M last season.
Talk about put people in a tizzy.
It is, that was just an incredible troll by Glenn Gilbo, as the melt was just epic to watch on social media.
Yeah, this man lives. He does not live for retweets. He does not live for likes. This man lives for being ratioed, and he got 145 replies to 22 likes. So that's people just firing off,
hammering him. We quote tweeted him.
Yes, the amount of people that take him seriously, is unbelievable.
He just saw the moment, man.
Even he fired back. He's like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel with you people. Good night. See y'all on Sunday. Could you imagine?
Oh, man, it was so good.
I also believe there's a world where he has done this for so long that he might start to believe himself, where it's not a bit anymore.
Well, I mean, if you talk to him, if you ever meet him,
he's as cynical as they get.
If this is a character,
he lives it now.
He's in character 24 hours a day.
Because I think that's how it started, was I'll be the opposite guy, because everybody that covers Baton Rouge wants, it feels like you want LSU to win, right?
Right.
Deep down inside, that's why you got in the business. And he just there's no heel here? Let me go ahead and turn coat, and then they never looked back.
Well, if you go back and kind of timeline Gilbo, he was, he came up with Dale Brown.
Yes.
And he came up with Skip Burtman he was kind of the guy when Bertman was around that was covering it. I mean, him and Bertman had a great relationship as far as kind of a back and forth. And he was always kind of the guy that would question, right? Like, I mean, he was kind of the local guy that he'd still play the game where he didn't burn his access, but he was kind of like Dellinger. I mean, Dellinger was very similar to that. I mean, like when Dellinger would come around, I mean, Bonnet and Les Miles and all those, they'd be like, oh, shit. You know what I mean?
Here comes the tough one.
Heads up. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be running Freedom of Information Acts. I mean, Dellinger was the first one that really kind of introduced that to journalism kind of at the local level. I mean, like, he started running Freedom of Informations on, like, Les Miles's and Joe Oliva's email. And like, I mean, those two morons were like, I mean, they were painting the business.
Well, then because Dellinger would always have to say, I got this information through the, like,
right.
he had to.
Like, this is the Patriot Act.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a federal law.
Sorry, I'm the only one using it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the one that just knows about it, knows how to use it.
Oh, he's got my contract out there.
Right. Like, my text messages.
Well.
I mean, it was getting hairy. But Gilbo, now that, like, really all of his relationships are really kind of gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like out of the building. I mean, he has settled on this hill where it's like he sees an opening and or maybe not, because I see Glenn, like he lives in my neighborhood. I see him walking his dog.
Homeowners Association.
I mean, like he and I mean, I love Glenn. Like, really, it's real. Like, he's hilarious.
Well, you have to be to do what he's doing. And I mean, you softballed the idea of having him on the show. Remember the last time we had him on the show? You saw a viewership go down by 300%. They're like, you ever have him on again? I swear to God.
Unreal.
Oh, you don't want to see the clown juggle?
But it is, look, man, for someone who was
in the moment.
Right. And look, I thought that Billy Napier was a viable candidate for the LSU job. That job at times looks over his head. At Florida.
At Florida?
Yeah, I mean.
That's the toughest part for Billy Napier. Probably would have been the same thing at LSU if he'd started the way he has, where the leash is so short that, and for Florida, how many times are you going to swing and miss if this is the case, where you don't even really give him an opportunity to play out his contract? Billy is trying to do it in a way that I don't think is terrible. He might have to give up play calling duties, and that's probably the last thing he wants to do, because what was it? At UL, scared money don't make money. Like, he loved to go for it on fourth down. He loves those moments where he kind of feels his team out. And I guess he would still have that as a head coach, but he likes to be in it.
Yeah.
And you saw the staff he brought in, and that picture is going viral again, where they have more staff than players. And so Billy's trying to do it in a way that is, all right, we're going to scour the transfer portal. He assigned somebody to just look at the transfer portal. Like, he was one of the first people to do that. He's been big on recruiting. So he's trying to build like a 3-year, 4-year plan, and Florida doesn't really let you do that all that often. It's kind of like Auburn.
I think Florida has to be realistic too. I mean,
who are you?
In the sense of, where are you?
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, they just opened a football facility. They just got an indoor facility. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying in terms of the competition, I mean, that's legions behind. I mean, like, LSU had an indoor facility in the 90s.
Right.
I mean, they were better in basketball then than they were better in football, and they still had, facility. I mean, think about Florida football in the 90s. I mean, they were
on top of the world.
They were dominating.
So much so that Urban was scared to coach against the visor.
This is Spurrier. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Urban was scared of the shadow of Spurrier, even when he was at South Carolina. It's like, I think they're rooting for him, but that's how much on top of the mountain they were. They couldn't get an indoor.
I mean, not only that, just got one.
LSU's had 2 before they had 1.
I mean, they've won 2 national championships in the meantime. Right? I mean, like, you would think, like, somebody was
Where's
like,
that money going?
What do y'all want to do with all this money? Like,
paid players.
I mean, I don't know. Like, Georgia's got an indoor. You know, like, Bama's got an indoor. Tennessee's got an indoor. And it not only that, it rains all the time here.
Right.
I'm not making an excuse by any means. You can win at Florida today. I mean, like, you've got the resources, you've got the recruiting ground, but I mean, some things that Florida lacked that they're catching up to, you're like, really? That's amazing that they didn't have facilities up up to par with the SEC. Now they look like they don't have the players up to the SEC level. I mean, when we're talking about Utah and some of that, you know, that play calling and the Bryson Barnes opening 70-yard touch, he was doing it against air. I mean, it was 7-on-7 out there. There was zero defensive line push for 4 hours, for 3.5 hours. If you watch that game, Florida had no pressure on Utah's quarterback all night. I mean, that's a Pac-12 team. That's an upper echelon Pac-12 team. It's an upper echelon college football program in Utah. But still, I mean, you're talking about Florida. You're talking about, I mean, where is the defensive line? Where's the push? Where are the players? I mean, that was the most, if you're a Florida fan, just alarming fact. And if you're Wardell Mack, I mean, if you're the top safety in the state of Louisiana, if you're one of the top players in Louisiana, like, first off, LSU, go get the deal done with Wardell Mack. Mack, don't go spend 4 years over in Gainesville and waste away all that talent. You need to be playing in championships, man. You need to be playing for rings.
It looks like if you had flipped the uniforms, it would have made a little bit more sense.
Yes.
Because even defensively, that's what was also shocking, is they didn't play assignment football. People were running free, and if Utah strikes on that trick play where he was wide open to the wide receiver pass or what have you.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that was a dagger.
24-11. It could have been 100-11.
Yes.
I mean, like, that thing was way over. Like,
and that's the other part of your Florida. You had opportunities because you were still in the game, and you never capitalized. You get penalties on 3rd and 1, it's like, what, 2 or 3 times, and then you get the number. You got 2 threes on punt team, and it gives them a first down, and they go in and score.
That's some Les Miles stuff. There was a lot of last night you were watching thinking, like, yes, like last night.
That's what I'm saying. That's the worst possible scenario
the plays
for Billy.
Weren't coming in on time. You got 2 number 3s on the punt team. You're out of position. You just
a lot of this.
Yeah, a lot of hands in the air. People looking at one another like they were confused. I mean, it was as bad visually of a game that you could have. In week 1, if you're the Florida bosses of Billy Napier, there's a lot of people that are looking around saying, this ain't it. I mean, like, this is not going to be it, man.
That's what I'm saying. It was just, if Florida is ever going to pull the trigger, like, that's going to be test case number 1 of, what are we doing? I
mean, last night they looked a minimum of 5 years behind.
Yeah.
Like, you're 5 years away.
It looked like that was his first game.
What do you want me to do with this?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what do you want me to do with this? I mean, like, this is. Have you even practiced?
That's where you get the dual threes on punt return.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how does that stuff happen?
They asked him at halftime, Holly did, and he goes, it's something that I thought we had assessed. We worked on it all year, like all coming up into the year. It's something we practiced all the time. It just didn't get assessed. And I was like, that sounds like such a bad answer.
Lie.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, like
I'll throw him under the bus.
Did we have 2
quick.
number 3s?
Yeah.
Like,
told him not to do that.
I mean, like, that is.
Throw it on the equipment manager.
That was bad, man. It was as bad visually as of a start as Napier could have had. I mean, like, at this rate, he may not make it through the season. I know there's a huge buyout,
$31 million.
But if it's that bad, like, this is the SEC. Like, I mean, there's $30 million somewhere on Florida's campus that's going to say, hey, reset.
Is there? Because didn't they just get a new baseball facility after it took them a minute after they won 2 national championships in baseball? Nobody goes to the games. Basketball, they built that arena after the 2 national championships, and it feels like, or they renamed it to Billy Donovan Court, one of the 2, but it feels like they don't really, it feels like a little Florida State light to me. Where I don't know if they throw. I mean, it's
so
all tied up in
much
buyouts.
Money coming in.
They still have to pay.
Like, that's
Dan.
what I believe that, like, Woodward is, like, negotiating on. You know, it's like people are like, where's all this money coming from? It's like, well, I mean, it's like it's all in the pipe. You know, it's like all coming down the line. It's like, I mean, if you're an
It's Tommy Boy, it's coming down the tube.
SEC athletic director, unless you've been like totally irresponsible in spending, it's almost like a bottomless pit. I mean, like really. I mean, it's like
Printing money.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it's like a money tree. I mean, it is hard to spend all of it. Now, maybe Florida has, but I can't imagine. Like, you can't run into problems like this. You know, like this looks like it could be
national television.
It was
First game of the year.
visual,
Everybody was watching.
The visual was a Roebuck commercial.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my God.
I mean, like,
Where's the Gobo tweet for that?
Don't you have enough money?
Well, I mean, if somebody
I
approaches
guess
you with,
you don't have it. I guess there's no such thing.
if somebody approaches you with that opportunity to go literally no script, go be yourself and wear Roback and just remember to tag it with your tagline, go Roback. Like, I don't think that's what they envisioned when they signed him up to this deal. That he's going to be selling trade secrets on LSU.
Oh man, if you
Like-
don't know what we're talking about, Ed Ogeron signed a.
I mean, I'll play it.
Yes, I mean
Let me find
that's
it.
the only way that you can explain this.
Hold on, let me grab it real quick.
That's
Filibuster.
That's the only way that you can explain this. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical HVAC Services. Call them today, 225-658-2147. Hughes Mechanical is your trusted Daikin air-conditioned company. You with Daikin, you get residential equipment, the only system that's backed up by a 12-year warranty. Hughes Mechanical locally owned and operated, your Daikin dealer. You can get in touch with them today by calling Travis Hughes and the crew at 225-658-2147, 225-658-2147. They service the entire South Louisiana listening area. Everybody from Baton Rouge to the North Shore to New Orleans, all surrounding areas. Get in touch with Hughes Mechanical at 225-658-2147. All right, here is, do we have it? The Roebuck.
Roback.
Look,
And it's the tagline is any questions?
I mean, look at that glare.
Press conference stare.
Just
What do you think about Florida State, LSU?
the fake
Well, it
photographs.
reminds me of a story where I was interim coach at LSU. I think I'm going to get the job full time. I'm on the way to my meeting with Joe Oliva, with Derek Pananzi, Austin Thomas. We got books. We ready to go. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We get down to the meeting. We give Joe our books. He pushes them to the side. He goes, guys, puts his head down. I meet with Tom Herman tonight. Well, I kick Derek. And I kick Austin. I said, get on out of here. I said, Joe, you know, and I take my finger and I put it right there in his belly, that I'm the right man for the LSU Tigers. I look forward to being the next head coach at the LSU Tigers. And I left the room. Go to bed that night. Ticker, Tom Herman, going to be the next head coach at LSU Tigers. Next morning, I got a call at 5:30. Joe Oliva says, Coach, can you meet me at 8:30? I said, I'm on my way. I got there. He's standing near the Tiger. He said, well, you want the job or not? Man, I grabbed him, gave him a big bear hug, said, let me down. We go in the office, we meet. He goes, Coach, I got to ask you something. You know when you poked me in the stomach last night? I was hurting, man. He said, I couldn't hire Tom Herman. I knew he was the right guy for LSU. I said, yeah, Joe, I put that Louisiana gree on you. And now, for Coach O's pick this week, I'm going with the LSU Tigers. Go Roback.
You can't fake it.
I mean, like,
He always.
you know, somebody at Roebuck's like,
Holy gold.
this is gold, man.
One
This is
take.
gold.
And just
We're about to go viral, boys.
Absolutely. And you're poking the right bear, too. Like, LSU fans are still so bitter. It's like, we want to love him, and you have to. You can't discount 2019. But these things are just why it was never going to work long term. Like, he has to go out the way to be like, I poked him in the belly. He's sore. Tough guy.
How bad does Oliva look? I mean, like,
Where is he?
like, Oliva just can't get away from it. Because, you know what it shows is, like, Oliva thought he was going to get the deal done, and the deal just, like, fell apart.
Egg on my face.
It's like egg on his face. Like, I guess I got to call Ogeron back. Like, call him back the next morning. Like, hey, you think you can come to my office?
Begrudgingly. And that's when the story of O came out that he had his head out the window jamming to his favorite song.
It was Born in the Bayou.
Yeah.
Slamming the roof.
Banging on the car.
Like the dude on the Big Lebowski.
Doing it. I mean, what unbridled joy he probably felt, though. You can't take that moment away from him. Yes.
Could you imagine what that car ride was like for Orgeron coming from Mandeville to Baton Rouge, knowing I'm about to be the LSU head football coach? Like, turn it up!
Yeah, again.
Like, replay it.
Whistle in the car. One last time.
Absolutely. He still had a little in him.
Yeah.
On the roebuck.
No shirt. Yeah.
When he kicked Austin and Panamsky out the room. He caught one. He caught a hanger.
Yeah, it's like his PTSD. It brings him back to the moment.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so good.
Orgeron still loves LSU, though, man.
Absolutely.
Still loves the Tigers.
That's his pick.
Still loves the Tigers. He's riding with LSU.
He would come back and coach today.
No doubt. You think he would be the defensive line coach?
Yeah, I think.
You think
he would.
Egotistically he could take that? I mean, I'd imagine once you sit in the head coach's office, it's tough to go back to the defensive line's office. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, but
I mean, there's I do believe there are a few people that could do it. I think Matt Luke was the Ole Miss head coach.
Yeah.
But he was the offensive line coach. Went to Ole Miss, loved Ole Miss.
Deep
down, you could probably be "Hey, man, you want your job back?
Absolutely.
We'll pay you $850,000.
Yeah, you don't even have to move offices.
Yeah, get a free car.
Down. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We'll move you out for you.
The whole deal. Yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. You know what I mean?
Cool. I think that
Orgeron, you want to be the defensive line and recruiting coordinator at LSU?
You and Frank Wilson.
You'll never get fired.
No. And that's the thing. I think as time passes, and if Orgeron has, which I think he does have the ability to look back and see, okay, I wanted the USC job. He's been great as an interim coach because those are 1-year stints to where what he does works, where fire up the boys, have some good players, and let's try to get magic in a bottle. Failed at Ole Miss, fails at LSU, I would say. I guess if you lose your job, that's technically a failure. You'd have to think you have some foresight to go okay, I'm not a head coach. If I want to be in football, I could go. They would take me back at the open arms if I promised to stop this and just be kind of keep my head down. And you can go do the recruiting thing and turn your personality up to 1,000, but you're not getting in front of a camera anymore. It's Brian Kelly's program. You're not sharing the spotlight.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
He's not getting interviewed.
I mean, that was with what I believe Les Miles was deathly afraid of when he hired him, was that first off, Les was he's a PR whore. You know what I mean? He wants the microphone. You know what I mean?
Like a bowler.
He wants the spotlight, and he knows there's only a couple of people that can really
own it.
You know what I mean?
Or take it away from him.
Absolutely. They can really rip that away from him. And Orgeron, he shredded it from him. It was early. Orgeron had built up so much momentum on radio with Panamsky and I. He was winning the PR war he wasn't even LSU's coach. He wasn't even on the staff yet. People were begging for him to be on the job. I remember Brick Haley would text Panamsky. It was I guess I'm done.
The defensive line coach,
yeah. He was I guess I'm about to get just pummeled.
I could see the writing on the wall. Yeah,
I need to start looking for a job, right? People are
NFL.
yeah, you're probably better.
I hate that. I feel responsible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
doing my job.
You're not the one. It's not
him.
you.
It's them.
It's just your role.
Oh my goodness. But that would be the elite recruiting staff if you were able to bring him on. But I just don't know I don't even know if Woodward could ever go back to him and do that.
No way. No, I don't think logistically it could happen. I'm just talking about in a
perfect world.
In a perfect world. I think he would. I think he would. I think he would. He's got all the money now.
Right.
And
I don't think he has no shame.
No.
So he wouldn't be embarrassed to walk back in the office.
Zero.
How y'all doing, boys?
Yeah, he's holding hands with his fiance on a cruise ship and walks up to a flock of ladies.
Girls.
What's your lady names?
Where y'all from?
Y'all watch the Tigers play?
Y'all from Florida? Alabama?
His fiance is tugging his can we?
This is how I got you.
Hang on, baby.
Hold on. Let me get y'all's numbers.
Bo White in the chat. I bet that's not Bo White. I bet that's his son, Reed White.
On his YouTube channel. It's a dangerous game.
Surfing on Dad's YouTube channel. What up, Reed? Have a good day at school, bro.
Don't go.
That's right.
Sick.
Work on that slice.
Ooh.
Stud little golfer.
Okay.
Yeah. Made the high school team as an 11-year-old.
What high school?
Central High. Maybe I'm speaking that wrong, but he was asked to practice with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's
being integrated.
Yeah, right. I mean, like they see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, whoa.
Got to see talent here.
Come up here and practice with us.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk to, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Jake Crain, and we'll get a full look at the weekend from Crain. And this TCU Colorado game is interesting. Talk about somebody who did a hell of a job of replacing talent. TCU did and this is, I don't think a lot of people saw this, right? Like, I mean, Kendall Briles is now calling plays for TCU. He's not in Arkansas anymore. Like, I mean, they've taken that Garrett Riley, who was the offensive coordinator for TCU, Lincoln Riley's brother, who was really getting a ton of attention, obviously, for what he was doing for TCU's offense. Clemson comes in and makes a enormous hire. I mean, like Dabo makes a Joe Brady type hire.
That's a save my job hire.
I mean, that's a save my job type hire for Dabo by being able to go get Riley, because Riley's 2 years away max of being a head coach. I mean, I would imagine he's probably going to be a head coach next year at this time.
That's what I was going to say. It feels like if you can do it at multiple places and if you do it quickly, where if you're an OC that's clearly going up the escalator and you skip a couple steps and then you go around and turn Clemson around and win 10 games, win the ACC, yeah, Florida might look at you.
Well, and look, Cade Klubnik is an outside dark horse pick to be the Heisman contending. Look, Caleb Williams up there, Drake May's up there. It's going to be a tough bunch to crack through and get to winner's circle on. But if there is one or two names that people go at routinely, Klubnik's one of them. And you put Riley with him at Clemson. That they've got athletes. It's a place where you could do something special. And what TCU did in the transfer portal, I don't know if we really talk about a lot. I mean, they've got guys like, remember the names like Trey Sanders and Tommy Brockmeyer at Alabama? I mean, those were two 5-star headline guys. If Trey Sanders doesn't get into I believe he got into an automobile accident his freshman year that really threw him off. He was going to play early on at Alabama, and something off the field from an injury standpoint kept him out of there. But guys like JoJo Earl, Tommy Brockmeyer, JoJo Earl was a one-time LSU commits to Alabama, gets injured at Alabama, gets passed up on the depth chart by all of the guys that they recruit in there. So Earl, Brockmeyer, and Trey Sanders are all now at TCU. They get guys like Jack Besh, obviously, who's on campus. I mean, like they have cleaned up. Not only that, they got Kendall Briles as the offensive coordinator. I thought replacing Garrett Riley was going to be nearly impossible for Sonny Ship or for Sonny Dykes and TCU. Shout out to Sonny Ship, my guy.
Shout out. I'm coaching.
But for Sonny Dykes to replace Garrett Riley with Kendall Briles, it's almost a wash.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I mean,
A for an A.
It really is. I mean, like I thought that was going to be nearly an impossible role to replace.
The big loser in all of this?
Arkansas. Yes. KJ Jefferson.
Yes.
KJ Jefferson is somebody that, man, he almost should have gone pro.
I was thinking the same thing. Who did hire Arkansas get for their head coach? I mean, OC.
I mean, coach, unless they were able
Dan
to
Enos.
resurrect. Okay, that's not bad. It's not bad. Were they getting from Miami?
Yeah.
He was a quarterback's coach down there. I mean, that's not a bad hire. And he was actually on Arkansas's staff with Briles, I believe. I believe he was on staff or he was on Alabama's staff as the quarterback's coach.
Yeah, he was at Alabama 2018, Miami 2019, Cincy for a stint, and the Maryland OC job. And that's where he kind of flourished a little bit, I guess. But I think there are some dark days ahead for Arkansas, even with Dan Enos. I don't think the Sam Pittman experiment makes it past this year.
I agree. But TCU, they cleaned up in the transfer portal. I mean, like,
that's as good a haul as you can get.
It just cleaned up, man.
That's probably why Saban was. That's probably when he was in his bitching phase about the transfer portal, losing JoJo Earl, a 5-star running back that had played a ton.
Avery Helm, that quick running back at Florida the last couple of years, he's now at TCU. I mean, like,
that 20.5 starting to look good.
I'm telling you, that 20.5, because Colorado to me is going to be a great. Like, I'm watching. I want to see how this thing works. Like, if this is going to be the model, and to me, Deion's, the way he's acted over the last couple of days, it kind of seems like he's freaking out. It kind of seems like he's like, oh man, this thing's getting close.
Walls
like
are closing
people
in.
are about to see that we don't have any depth. There's not a lot of players around. You look at this TCU roster, the experience that the nucleus has that's been there.
They believe.
The expectation, TCU, you do your research on TCU, they've been a top 7 program for the last decade. They finished within the top 7 for the last 10 years. They finished in the top 4 for 3 of those. I mean, like, we're not talking about
a flash in the pan.
This is a consistent winner in college football. They get to the national championship. They're able to break through last season. Now, look, they get exposed by one of the great teams of last year in Georgia. But this is a program that has high expectation of winning. They don't fall backwards into winning. Like, it's not like this isn't like some like, whoa, we're in the playoffs. Like, they expect to win. And so for Colorado, just to be rolling this experiment out against a program like TCU, they may get run. Like, that 20.5 almost feels like a gift to some people. Like, yeah, that thing could be 60-10. Quick.
It's at TCU, and I think it's vying to be the game with the highest attendance in TCU history. It's sold out, and now they're pushing for it to be the highest attended game in school history, which I'm sure Deion was on board for early. Now it feels like not so much, because this is the third best game on the slate?
I would say, yeah. Well, I don't from an interest standpoint, I think LSU Florida State tops everything. I think it's the heavyweight match of the, everybody's kind of gearing up for Sunday night. But outside of that, the undercards are, mine's Drake May and Spencer Rattler. Like, I want to see that. But like, from an interest standpoint, I feel as interested to watch Colorado as anything that I want to see this weekend. I just want to see it. I want to see what they look like standing on the sideline. I want to see what their numbers look like. I want to see like what they look like in uniforms. Do they look like they have players or not? Like,
Bishop
how did
Sycamore.
They really replace all of these people with just the same shuffle of selection? You know what I mean? It's like not like this isn't like you can't go create somebody. I mean, like, all of these people are coming from some other program where, I mean, I look at TCU's haul in the transfer portal. They got everything. Like, they got all the headline. They got the all-name team. Mm-hmm. Like, if you were looking and we're like, whoa, like, look at all these guys that are in the portal. TCU, I mean, they're only Walker Howard away from being like the best transfer portal I've ever heard of from a name standpoint. Right? And I mean, like, you look at the situation, you're like, Walk, what are you doing in Oxford? Like,
yeah, where you're.
I mean, like, you should be there if you were going to transfer.
I think Walker's playing the long game there. Gets 1 year, maybe 2 with Lane Kiffin, and he's off to the races. He's going to put up Mondo numbers, but he might have to wait. Mm-hmm. If he was at TCU, and now, I mean, even with what they have at offensive coordinator, he probably could have made it work for 2 years and still been a high draft pick if he shows out. Because, like you said, that haul on the offensive side of the ball, and even if TCU felt like maybe they didn't need a quarterback, they have the returning starter who got cuckolded by Max Duggan. Yeah. And he gets his job back, and he wasn't, I don't say he was terrible.
Right.
But Max just put a stranglehold on that thing and became America's darling and was second runner-up in the Heisman. Can't really beat that out. Not getting your job back.
No. I mean, man, I'm looking at some of these names that TCU hauled in? I mean, they got a Ole Miss wide receiver and Jalen Robinson, Ricky DeBreau transferred in, Jack Besh. A lot of wide receivers, Coach.
Oh, they're going to spread it out.
JoJo Earl. All right, so LSU last night. Brian Kelly made his radio debut. We're good on this. He was, and then he also had the press conference. He usually, so the way that the media works with Brian Kelly is that he kicks off game week with a press luncheon every Monday. Then he meets with the press after Tuesday's practice, and then he meets with the press again after Thursday's practice, and then goes to his radio show. And his radio show is the last time you hear from him until Saturday. We've got a couple of bites from his presser after practice yesterday. Do we have a call sheet on this?
Let me send it to you. First one up is reporting on John Emery's status.
So remember, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant down in New Orleans. Speaking of Katie's, Scott Craig, the owners of Katie's Restaurant and Francesca's, is filling in for our guy Gus Cattengill today, G-Cat, who does the midday show in sports radio on their ESPN affiliate New Orleans. Craig's going to be doing the full 2 hours from Francesca's. I'm going to hop on with him at 2:05 this afternoon and talk a little LSU as he'll be hosting the show. But remember, he is he owns Francesca's and Chelsea's. Excuse me, not Chelsea's. I just looked at a flyer for Chelsea's.
Francesca's and Katie's.
Francesca's and Katie's. And you can find it all online. katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com is where you can find them. And listen to Scott today on the ESPN affiliate down in New Orleans. He'll be hosting for Gus Cattengill, as always. All right, so here we go. We got a couple of bites here from Brian Kelly as John Emery's status was brought into question from some question askers yesterday. And here is what's going on with John Emery.
John is in good standing with the program. He's done everything that we've asked him to do. Any other comments would put me in conflict with the Buckley Amendment.
Do you have an exact game that he'll be able to play by?
Yes, Game 3.
So John Emery going to be out the first 2 games of the season. I think that's a little bit of a news there. All right, here is some injury updates from Brian Kelly.
Real quick on the John Emery front, there was some sleuthing that this is where Tiger Droppings does its good work. There was some sleuthing going around that the Mason Smith signed autograph card from John Emery had one on the same brand, same date as Mason Smith. So it's kind of the rumor floating around that he also was serving a 2-game suspension for signing cards when he should not have been pre-NIL.
Who is this guy?
Onyx Cards is the brand, but they're authenticated. And on eBay, you can get John Emery's for like $12.
$12.
Mason Smith for $8.
$8.
But I mean, this is legit Tiger Droppings. He had it on eBay and pulled up, and they look exactly the same. It's John Emery's autograph, and it's Mason Smith's autograph. Same type of card. So it makes sense. It's loose.
This guy, Onyx.
Is it?
I mean, he's costing LSU.
It'd be public enemy number 1.
Good Lord,
Gilbo.
LSU beat to week. All right, here he is, Kelly, providing some injury updates.
Amani Goodwin is out. He's working hard to get back, but he'll be out for this weekend. Josh Williams is probable, and we've upgraded chemo to probable. So both of those guys will travel, and again, they'll be probable. So, again, I think that's a good sign from the injury report. We weren't sure. I mean, we felt like Amani was going to be a tough one with the hamstring, and he's working hard, but it's probably going to be another week.
Denver Harris has gotten a lot of attention here through fall camp. Here is Brian Kelly talking about his transfer corner from A&M going into week 1.
Denver is in that process of learning how to do things, a little bit differently than he had been doing it before. So, it's becoming, clear to him what he needs to do on a day-to-day basis to find the field here. And look, he's got a lot of ability, but it's more in this program than just having athletic ability. He's got to do the work in the classroom. He's got to do the work, in terms of the day-to-day details and making good choices, good decisions, and he's making progress there. But it's a journey for him right now.
For Harris, he's far away, man. He's just not. You got to get it right.
Saga continues.
You got to get it right. All right, here he is talking about preparing for a neutral site game.
No, not really. I mean, I think we have to prepare for, crowd noise situations that, at a neutral site. For example, we were in New Orleans. That neutral site, you tend to think that that's going to favor the home team from Louisiana, where you probably don't spend as much time on crowd noise. We spent more time on crowd noise here for this neutral site game in Orlando, expecting it maybe to be a little bit more of a tilt towards Florida State. So, I think those neutral site games, you kind of, try to figure out, what that split's going to be relative to the fans. And so how it affected this game plan was just simply that, work on crowd noise.
Brian Thomas has been in and out of fall camp here, battling a little bit of injury. Here he is talking about coaches, talking about the status of the third-year wideout out of Walker.
Yeah, I like where he's at. I mean, I like his look, I thought Brian last year, was a bit sloppy at times in terms of, all the things that he needed to do. His attention to detail wasn't great. This year it's so much better. The summer he was outstanding in the classroom. I just see a more mature guy, a guy that is handling his business in a different way. I like where he's at. I really do. I think we're going to see a lot of good things from Brian this year.
It's good news on Brian Thomas, the standout wide receiver going into year 3. Here is Coach Kelly talking about the brand of LSU traveling over to the state of Florida this weekend.
No, the LSU brand is strong. It's more than just football. I think that the success that it has had has broadened its appeal much more than just, an SEC school. It's seen as a national major brand, and that's a powerful thing. It's not a regional brand; it's a national brand. There's a difference. There's some SEC schools that just have regional appeal. LSU has a national appeal, and certainly that attracts student athletes and helps you in recruiting from all over the country. So, no, and look, I'm beginning to see that more and more, and I think it has a lot to do with the successes of the programs, the other programs. There's no doubt, but the fan base is not just passionate, but it's active. Right? It's you can see it in its social media appeal. You can see it how active it is, and I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Brian Kelly yesterday talking about the national appeal of LSU's brand. Here's Kelly talking about the part of the game that I believe is really going to be the key to it for LSU. If LSU is going to win on Sunday, I think it's going to come down to a couple of things, but none more importantly than can whether or not LSU stand up and guard Florida State on the outside, right? Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, a couple of playmakers for Florida State on the outside. LSU's got a couple of question marks. You heard him talking about Denver Harris. Harris he's a long way away from the field. Still got some things to take care of. So who's going to step up at cornerback and who's going to guard? Here's Kelly talking about that matchup between LSU DBs and Florida State wide receivers.
We're in a similar position that we were last year in a sense that, you had Jarek Bernard-Converse, you had, Kobe coming out for the first time, you had Mekhi Garner, had guys that nobody knew of, and you're going to have a similar situation again this year. I just think that these guys have competed really well against top-notch receivers for the last, 6 weeks, and they're ready to go play somebody else. They know they've got a great challenge ahead of them with the wide receivers at Florida State, and they will all year against SEC competition. And I think the safeties feel the same way. So, this is a corner safety group together that have to communicate well together, have to play together. And I just think that, we're in a better place than we were last year because I think that the communication is so much better and the understanding of what we want to accomplish. And so I think they've really worked well together. So I don't know that there's anything to prove as much as they just want to go out and compete.
Ups, like we mentioned, LSU's DBs on Florida State wide receivers. It'll come down to LSU's offensive line, to how they can control guys like Jared Verse and Florida State's defensive line. What are some of the key matchups that Brian Kelly are looking at when he sees this thing on paper?
Probably what we just talked about, the one-on-one matchups, down the field. The ball's going to get thrown down the field to some elite receivers, and, we're going to have to make our share of plays down the field. Clearly, that's probably number one. Number two will be, tackling their backs. I think that's going to be an important part of this as well. Everybody knows you got to contain the quarterback in some fashion, but he's going to get his plays. I think it's just competing down the field for the football.
All right, that's Brian Kelly yesterday, wrapping up his press availability here in game week. He was on the radio show last night with Chris Blair. We had a cool moment with Blair. Of course, Blair over here every Thursday. Compliments of Carriage's Clothe the Ear, but he was wishing Chris Blair a happy birthday, brought him a birthday cake. Cool social media post going out for LSU Sports and for Blair. So that is game week press obligations for Brian Kelly in the book. Now, next time you see Coach Kelly, it'll be game day, and the Tigers will be preparing for the Seminoles. We'll talk more about that matchup, and you heard Brian Kelly talk about it. Just a similar to what we've highlighted. I've heard a lot of people highlighting when they talk about this LSU-Florida State matchup. What's one matchup that Coach Kelly was curious about? LSU's DBs on Florida State's wide receivers. It's going to play a huge part in the outcome come Sunday. We'll talk more about it when we come back here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, presented by Click Here Digital, live on the campus of Click Here Digital Studio. Remember, over 20,000 square feet of office space that house 150 employees that are responsible for coming up with full-service digital marketing plans every single day for their clients. And they do it better than anybody. They do it in the automotive space. They do it in the medical space, in the legal space. If you're curious how you can get ads onto social media in front of your client base, they can click on those ads and then turn that click into money, then you need to get in touch with Click Here Digital. You can contact me directly, jordy@clickheredigital.com. It's a simple email, jordy@clickheredigital.com, or just log online, clickheredigital.com. Hour 2 of the Jordy Culotta Show coming back at you. We're going to talk to Jake Crain at 8:15. We'll talk more about that TCU game with Colorado, as it'll be the Deion debut for the Buffaloes tomorrow. TCU coming off their national championship game last season. What do the Horned Frogs look like? Lots to get to in hour 2. Come back with us. Hit a like button, a share button, a comment button. Get involved with us here. I see over 640 people watching live. It is great to see you on this Friday morning. If you have not subscribed to the channel and you're in that 646 club, just hit subscribe real quick for me. And we'll be back. Hour 2 coming at you from Click Here Digital Studios, as always, built by R&B Builders. Phil's Oyster Bar, a staple of South Louisiana since 1945, located in Southdown Shopping Center and online at philsoysterbar.com. If you log online, you can learn about the private party schedule, the catering menu, and even order online. Daily lunch specials Monday through Friday. Learn about the history when Gus Piazza took it over in the early 70s, made it an absolute stop-in for everyone who came through Baton Rouge, and now Anthony, his son, carrying on the tradition. Phil's Oyster Bar, Southdown Shopping Center, and online, philsoysterbar.com. in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge. Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on. Did you do it? Hold on. Did you do it?
Roof's up.
Hold on.
Roof's up.
Roof's up!
Roof's up.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
You can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no-obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every shingle time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Belmont Stakes Race Training.
I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Kentucky Derby Training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
All right, welcome back here to a Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. As always, we're built by our friends over at RMB Builders. Shout out to Rhett and his crew, man. A great crew over at Rhett Bourgeois Builders, RMB Builders. Find out for yourself today online, rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com, or you can find them on Instagram at RMB Builders. Check them out as they bring you our show every single day. Hit that like button, share button, comment button if you're here. Make sure and give us a subscription. If you have not already subscribed, if you're in the chat today, we appreciate you being a part of the show as we are live Monday through Friday on the campus of Click Here Digital. Click Here Digital is located right here in Baton Rouge on Interline Avenue in between Drusilla and Airline. You can find more online at clickheredigital.com. All right, we were talking about the defensive backs going up against Florida State's wide receivers. Brian Kelly mentioned it in his sound bites and some of what he was talking about yesterday to the press. And it's when you're looking at this matchup and you are breaking down this matchup and talking about what are some of the keys to this game. Obviously, it's going to be whether or not LSU is going to be able to keep up with Florida State's wide receivers. We just had somebody in the chat bring up a good question. I lost who it was from, but if I do, I want to make sure and give credit to it. But it was asking Jordy, what about the matchup between LSU's wide receivers and Florida State's defensive backfield? It's fair, right? Because I think that's really ultimately what this game could come down to. We say it every week. We say it all the time in the offseason. You hear it from coaches. It's always a part of coach speak. It's always the first thing you hear, that it's always going to come down to offensive and defensive line play. Who's going to win the line of scrimmage? Who's going to be able to control the ball, control the clock, control the line, right? I think that this matchup this week on the line of scrimmage is a wash. I think you're looking at two really good units on both sides of the ball for both programs. Florida State's got a solid offensive line. LSU's got a solid offensive line. Florida State's got a solid defensive line. LSU's got a solid defensive line. I mean, really, when you look at it on paper, there's a couple of things that you may sway advantage here, you may sway advantage there, but for the most part, it kind of neutralizes itself when you look at it on paper and you talk about the matchup. To me, the matchup that could change the game, one of the matchups that could change the outcomes of the game, is who makes more big plays. Which wide receiver group can beat the new look defensive backfield for both sides? Whether it's LSU rolling Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander, or even Sage Ryan out there, that are going to be three new faces in a new spot, new position, new school, whatever it may be. For Sage Ryan, it's a new position. For Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander, it's a new school. It's a new league. It's a new opportunity. You flip the field and you look at Florida State's defensive backfield, who's going to have to square off against Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Aaron Anderson, Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton, and crew. If Fintrell Cypress is a defensive back who was heavily coveted in the transfer portal out of Virginia that settled in on Florida State, has the same opportunity for Florida State that we're talking about with LSU's DBs. Can Fintrell Cypress step up? Fintrell Cypress hasn't guarded anybody like Brian Thomas. I'd be hard-pressed to say he hadn't guarded anybody like Malik Neighbors. So he's got an opportunity to go up against a couple of pros on Sunday. It's a huge chance for him. New school, just transferred in, a lot of attention. Florida State needed him badly. You know, the defensive backfield for Florida State's just as lean as LSU's is. So when you look at this tail of the tape, when you look at this matchup on paper, who can make more big plays against one another's defensive backfield? Which defensive backfield can hold up against the big playmakers? Will it be the new faces of LSU's cornerback room going toe-to-toe with Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, or will it be guys like Fintrell Cypress, who's transferred in from Virginia to Florida State, being able to neutralize guys like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Kyle Parker, Mason Taylor, Trey Bradford? I think LSU's just got too many weapons, man. I really do. I think this is the part of me that I'm anxious to see the most come Sunday. When just watching them practice, when just hearing people in the build-up, when knowing who they've recruited and knowing who's next in line This is the part come Sunday I can't wait to see. Because I think LSU's built to make big plays. They've got a solid offensive line that's really the face of the offense to me this season. Like going into it, you can hear Brian Kelly talking about it. He knows they're good up front. He loves his offensive line. He's ready to put the game on their shoulders to win it. So he's going to try and establish the run first and foremost, in my opinion, which is going to set up these big play opportunities with all of these options that they have. Florida State is a threat. Florida State is scary on paper. They got a couple of pros. But when you look at LSU, don't they have more threats? I believe they do. That's the part on Sunday I'm anxious to see. You still have to use them. It's one thing to take all the guns and the bullets and the ammo to war. If you don't shoot them or use them, the hell did you bring them for? Right? Like if you're going to show up with Aaron Anderson, use him. If you're going to show up with Chris Hilton, put him out there and let him run by everybody one time. And if that's the case, I think that Ventrell Cypress and the crew may have a hard time keeping up. And that could be the difference in the game. When every week we're pounded, we have to believe it comes down to the line of scrimmage. Who can stop the run? I get you. I get it. All right. Who can stop the big plays in this one? This one might be 3.5 hours of fireworks, folks. Like, buckle up. This one could be fun. Jordan Travis versus Jaden Daniels. Brian Thomas versus Keon Coleman. Big playmakers. Put them on the marquee. Put the faces on the marquee, the headlines, the names. I mean, nobody's running from this thing. Herb Street and Fowler. Fowler looks great, by the way. He knew it last night. Coat off.
Oh, he
tucked in.
He's ready to.
I mean, straight off the Australian Open.
Then he gets to go straight to. Yeah, he's going straight to the U.S. Open after
Vinoed up.
Oh yeah, him and Herb are the best.
From Salt Lake City, private air, direct to Orlando. You're getting the nation's best on the call. You'll have every eyeball in the sport. Everybody who thinks they like college football will be tuned in to this one on Sunday night. I think it could be firepower. You know Jordan Travis and Jaden Daniels aren't sleeping for the next 72 hours, 48 hours, however long it is. What is it, 2-3 days away?
Technically, 36 hours out.
Who can stop the big plays? Who can shut down the other big playmakers? What new cornerback can make a name for himself or not end up on SportsCenter's top 10 list for the wrong reason? It'll come down to Ventrell Cypress. It'll come down to Deuce Chestnut. It'll come down to one of these cornerbacks that's new to the scene that's going to have to make a play because the ball's going to be in the air. The people that can change the scoreboard the most in this matchup are on the outside. Put the ball in Malik Neighbors' hand. Put the ball in Brian Thomas's hand. Let Aaron Anderson touch it.
I think that's where Coach O made a great point. I mean, Coach O. Brian Kelly.
Roebuck.
Brian Kelly, what he said, it's something that I haven't thought of, but when you talk about the defensive back room, and, obviously that's where a lot of question marks are. I put it on the poll. What's your biggest area of concern for LSU on Sunday? And I said, let's see the choices I gave. LSU's running back room, progression of Jaden Daniels, defensive back play in the front seven, defensive back play 76%. But to that point, Brian Kelly said they've been going up against some pretty good guys for almost a year now.
It's a great point.
Where he've been going up against what we see as one of the
That's
best.
what I loved about LaTerrence Welsh in spring.
Right. This is what we see as one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. Guess who saw him every day?
Yeah.
The DBs.
It's a great point.
So, Crain's here.
Lucky Luciano, somebody stop Jordy. He's too much right now. No, I'm tweaking. I mean, I'm feeling it right now.
No, it's football season.
It is here. Speaking of football season.
Yesterday, put a little in my gums.
Always, yeah.
Now I'm ready for the whole thing. Just gave me a little taste.
Get a little Coach O.
No.
Jake Crain and the boys, Crain and Company, Jake and the crew still doing great work. Remember, you can find them on YouTube. College football is here. They are a must-listen here during college football season. Remember our friends over at Go Roof before we jump into the interview. This interview brought to you by our friends over at Go Roof, GEAUX Roof. Roofs up with our friends over at Go Roof. You can get in touch with them every single day, and they'll have a professional up on the roof for free, giving you that free inspection. Weather's been crazy over here. In fact, over at Click Here, they had a tornado come through, and some shingles, some work was being thrown around, it was. If you've been affected by that, remember you can get in touch with Go Roof at 225-927-8300. A beautiful roof every shingle time. Get 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all new roof installations. GEAUXroof.com. All right, this interview brought to you by our friends over at Go Roof. Hit them up online or dial them up at 927-8300. Jake Crain, it is good to talk to him once again during football season. Jake, how are you, good buddy? Good morning.
Jordy, what is up, man? I'm coming to you live from the dojo. Just got done with the show after just absolutely loving every second of the college football season that's now upon us. And, yeah, it's great to be with you guys. Exciting time, I know, for LSU fans and, shoot, people in general. College football's back, baby.
It is back, Jake, and it's great to have you here every Friday. Our listeners are fired up to hear from you. I want to get to LSU and Florida State, but let's start just from a 30,000 square foot view first. Last night, I don't think that could have gone any worse for Billy Napier in Florida. It was 24-11 final, but it felt like 124-11 was the final score there. What did you see from Florida last night, or what did you see from Utah in the win?
Well, first I want to give credit to Utah. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have stupid penalties. With a backup quarterback, when's the best time to take a shot on the first play? It's when you have your third-string quarterback in there when they're not expecting it. But, the worst part for Florida, it's kind of multi-pronged. One is you needed to go in that game and play clean to have a chance. Utah's a quality ball club, even without the Dark Knight Cam Rising in there playing their physical up front. This could be the best defense that Kyle Whittingham has. They've been, their physicality has really separated them the past couple years in the Pac-12. But if you're Florida, you went in there and you didn't control the things you could control. You made mistakes that were in your control all the way back to the first drive. You got a 3rd and 1 after the safety made a great tackle on the speed sweep, but you're in great shape in 3rd and 1. You false start. You basically turn the ball over when the ball's being punted to you. It's 4th down and 4, and you got 2 guys with the same number jersey on, 5-yard penalty, 1st down for the offense. They go score. It seems like Florida, because I didn't think Graham Mertz played that bad. I thought he played well enough to give them a chance. They ran for 13 yards, Jordy. Yeah. You can't rush for 13 yards and expect Graham Mertz to Michael Vick his way through a defense to be able to score points and manufacture points. I thought from a play calling standpoint, Billy Napier and them had a really good game plan. They were going from 12 personnel with motions, 11 personnel to empty. They ran some exotics at them early that hit. But it just seemed that every time Florida would give themselves a chance, they would have a self-inflicted wound, and that's what hurts the most if you're a Florida fan this morning. If you'd almost rather go down there and have gotten steamrolled than what happened happen. But hats off to Utah. They handled business. They were the more physical team. And if you're Florida, you got some things to work on, but there are some. You could take solace in the fact that I don't think Graham Mertz is the worst quarterback in the world like some thought.
Jake Crain coming from a beautiful studio on a beautiful look on this Friday morning, getting ready for college football season. We get Deion's debut tomorrow as Colorado's head coach, Jake. Everybody will be watching this one, I think, with interest just to see, what's up. How does this work? What does it look like? They'll be going up against a TCU team that I don't think we talked about enough, how much they reloaded in the offseason through the transfer portal and at the offensive coordinator spot. Replacing Garrett Riley with Kendall Briles, I think is a wash. What do you make of TCU going into this one before we get to Deion in Colorado?
Well, look, I think some people forget Chandler Morris, who's Chad Morris's son, was the starting quarterback before he got hurt, and then Max Duggan came in and had that Heisman campaign. I think some people think, Max Duggan was the guy the whole time. Chandler beat him out and won the job. Look, you lose Darius Davis, you lose Quentin Johnson, but you got Savion back. There's a couple guys that I think can really make some plays that return on this team that didn't get as much action last year. And Kendall Briles uses the tight end about as well as anyone. So watch out for the Wiley kid. I think he had 21 catches last year. I expect him to have a big year. I think they'll be fine on the offensive line. The defense should be fine. But TCU, to me, they're not sneaking up on anybody this year. It's always interesting to see how a head coach does in year 2 after having an incredible performance in his first year. The encore or the sophomore year is always very interesting with new head coach Sonny Dykes and head coaches in general. I think TCU is going to be a good team. Chandler has to stay healthy. I think they may be a little bit of a different flavor of ice cream than they were last year. I think Kendall is going to be a little bit more run to pass than what Garrett was. It's going to be interesting to see how much they let Chandler run, too, from a design standpoint, Q power, Q counter, especially in the red zone, obviously on the scramble drill and taking off when he wants to. That's a different thing than a design run. But I think TCU is going to be fine.
Now, take me to the other sideline with Deion in Colorado. What do you expect here in their debut?
Well, everybody, look, I don't care all the way from Friday Night Tykes to Monday Night Football. The game's won and lost up front. Getting Travis Hunter's great. Shadur's great. The McCaskill kid from Houston's a really good back. They got some pretty good skill players. But up front on both sides of the ball, Colorado's basically a women's school. You're not going to be able to go out there and just 7-on-7 people to death. I expect them to really struggle in the offensive line. I think their defensive line, whenever you hear the word, hey, yeah, man, our defensive line's really quick, and that's all they say. Quick is another word for small. I think TCU is going to push them around. I think they're going to be lucky to win 2 games. When you look at who they play, obviously I believe it's Northwestern and Stanford. We're not going out there having a math test, so I'd feel better about that than the other teams they play. But I don't believe in Colorado up front. Look, I love Sean Lewis, the former head coach at Kent State, who came over as the offensive coordinator. I love Charles Kelly. He's a great family friend, the DC there. They just don't have the cats up front. And when it comes down to the game of football, as I mentioned earlier, the offensive line and the defensive line is the heart and the body. It's the engine in the car, what makes it go. And I don't know why Deion keeps talking this team up like they're going to win 10 games. Undersell and overperform. Because if it starts going, we haven't seen Coach Prime when it starts going bad yet. That's what I want to see.
All right, Jake, get me to Sunday night, the headliner here, the marquee. Jaden Daniels, Jordan Travis, Florida State, LSU. What do you see in this matchup? Break it down for me.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say we're live streaming the game on Crain and Company. Oh, yeah. So if you want to go watch, we're coming on at 6, going to break down everything and then talk through it, talk formations, make bets, all that good stuff. We have a good time, eat some great food. Here's the way I see this game. To me, it's this weekend's matchup that has the most NFL players on the field. Both teams are wildly talented on offense, all the way from tight end to offensive line to the skill position to the quarterback's ability to run and throw. Defensively, I think both teams are really good. I do like the over in this game. And the first thing you want to point to when you have two teams that are really good on offense and defense is the third phase, right? We know it cost LSU last year, and that's special teams. But I think the key to this game is red zone play calling. Look, offensive coordinators don't get paid to move the ball in between the 20s. They get paid to convert on third downs and score touchdowns in the red zone, not kick field goals. Defensive coordinators don't get paid to just stop people in between the 20s. They get paid to stop you on third down and hold you to field goals in the red zone. And in the red zone, we know the field shrinks, right? The playbook shrinks. This is where having dual threat guys is huge. But which team, when they get into the red zone, can put that ball in the big rectangle and not have to kick it through the field goal post? Because 3 points in this game gets you beat at the end, in my opinion. I think there's the witchery, the sorcery, the gamesmanship, the X's and O's, the schematics in the red zone is going to determine who wins this game. That's why I think Mason Taylor may be the most important piece of LSU's offense in this game. That's why I think Jaheim Bell may be the most important piece of Florida State's offense in this game. Because when you get down in that red zone, that's where that matchup really matters. Being able to have that tight end run past that linebacker, our big boy, that safety, and go get the rebound. So play calling in the red zone and tight end play in the red zone, I think, is the key to this game. I like LSU. I like them 34-31.
When you talk about the quarterbacks in this game, Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis, tell me about each of them, how you feel going into this season. They're both on Heisman ballots, kind of far down, high odds. when you see each player, what do you see from a college football standpoint, and then maybe as a prospect for the next level?
Yeah, there are some similarities. I think one of them's an NFL receiver and the other one's an NFL quarterback. I think Jordan Travis will go play wideout when he gets to the NFL, and that's he throws it well enough, right? I think Jordan runs better than Jaden, and Jaden throws better than Jordan. The biggest question, when I look defensively is, who's the spy? Well, I just saw a bio documentary on Harold Perkins called Oppenheimer a couple weeks ago. I know he could spy Jordan Travis and be just fine. Anybody who can run down the Hornsby kid from Arkansas can probably run down a gazelle or a cheetah, and we know what Harold Perkins can do. But when I look at their game, I look at Jaden Daniels' evolution as a quarterback. Last year, and it's something we talked about on Crain and Company last year, the first half of the season, as LSU fans, I know it felt like every time you ran the ball, there was 25 guys in the box first half of the year. Every time you threw the ball, it was underneath or intermediate, and 2 guys were hitting the wide receiver, or there was no yards after catch. When Jaden Daniels stopped worried about turning the ball over and started utilizing that deep third of the field, LSU's season changed. Their offense changed. Now everybody had to loosen up. The run game opened up more. We talked about this with Jaden at SEC Media Days. All he heard about when he came over from Arizona State is, this kid turns the ball over. This kid's going to turn the ball over. You turn over in the Pac-12, you're going to turn over in the SEC. Well, that bothered him, and Brian Kelly answered a question when they said, hey, Jaden Daniels, up to this point, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's not turned the ball over. How great is that? Brian Kelly said, yeah, listen, I don't want the quarterback to turn the ball over, but we're not getting a return on our investment. We're not utilizing the deep third of the field. I would rather you have 15 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions right now, and defenses be scared for you to throw the ball deep. So I think Jaden Daniels' ability to beat you from the pocket, when it comes down to trying to out-athlete LSU, it's not going to work the whole time. You're going to have turnovers. It's going to create problems. I think Jaden Daniels' ability to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball at all 3 levels now, and his evolution as a passer and his nuance and his feel as a passer, is why I think, one of the reasons why I think LSU is going to win this game, and why I think he's an overall better quarterback than Jordan Travis is.
You mentioned Harold Perkins. What do you anticipate here in year 2? They just kind of threw him out there and said, see the ball, go hit the ball last year. What do you expect from him in his development this year?
Pain. Yeah. Lots and lots of pain. It's last year, and I don't really know if he knew what he was seeing that much. Mm-hmm. I think he was reacting. And here's the scariest part if you're an offense. Harold Perkins was out there beating guys to the spot, not knowing what he was looking at. My father was an All-American linebacker who ran 4.75. He had to be able to beat guys to the spot. He had to know what was going on. He used to say, listen, if you're going to play linebacker and you got to run 40 yards to catch somebody, I don't want you. That's not the position. Now that Harold Perkins knows what he's looking at and can read keys and won't false step and understands not only the blitz packages, not only where to go, but how to get there and the angles and how to ricochet, he is going to be a dynamite problem for offenses. So it speeds him up. As crazy as that sounds, it speeds up Harold Perkins. And the thing about him is, we always talk about, hey, be a 3-down back, right? Be a 3-down back. Well, Harold Perkins is a 3-down linebacker. You can put him in there against jumbo personnel on the goal line, and he can go blow it up. You can put him in there or leave him in there on 3rd and 9 and let him run with wide receivers if you want to, or running backs, or tight ends. So I think now that he understands what he's seeing, it's going to make him even faster. It's like, oh, man, they're like, man, wow, man, this uranium bomb's really good. Well, now he's turned into a hydrogen bomb, which is about 8 times more deadly, at least the last science book I read, which was in about 8th grade. But Harold Perkins, at the end of the day, is going to be faster. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be smarter. He's basically a transformer now.
Jake Crain shooting you up with football here on this Friday morning, getting you ready for a great college football weekend. Maybe not great. All right.
There's one great one out there.
There is. The heavyweight fight's going to be awesome. Real quick, take me to Tuscaloosa. What are they doing at quarterback, and what does this do to this dominant roster? I mean, I hear that they're loaded, but it feels like a lot like LSU. I've seen a lot of loaded rosters in Baton Rouge go to die because there's nobody under center. What do you see when you have Alabama in front of you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I tell you what, I love the over at 51.5. They're going to play 3 quarterbacks so that they're not just going to go out there and give peanut butter and jelly to to one of them and let the other two eat. They're going to want to see them operate in the offense, which means throw the ball, which means make checks, be accurate, keep scoring. I like the over 51.5. But when it comes down to Alabama, I got Alabama going 9-3 this year, Jordy. And look, I had Alabama going undefeated last year, winning the national championship. There's no Alabama hasn't sent me a check yet. Auburn hasn't sent me a check yet. I call it how I see it. There's a lot of changes. Alabama has great personnel. They've had great personnel. That's what happens when you recruit at this level. But when is the last time Alabama had to replace a quarterback and a left tackle in the same year? I'll do you one better. When's the last time Alabama had to replace a left tackle, a quarterback, and had a total offensive transition scheme and identity change with a new coordinator? When's the last time that happened? You don't see that a lot because Nick Saban is the master of continuity. He's the master of roster management. He typically doesn't lose too much at two different places that are symbiotic on the roster. So I think there's a lot of questions this year at Alabama. And what's crazy is I got them going 9-3 and beating LSU at home. So I got them losing to Texas. I got them losing at A&M. And I got them losing the Iron Bowl. I don't care which quarterback you put out there. I don't think Jalen Milroe fits let's get in 12 personnel and run play action to be a pro-style offense. I don't think he fits that unless he's made some humongous jump that nobody knows, and now he's just become a pure pocket passer. I don't see him making that jump. Tyler Buckner has a little bit of experience, but most of his experience was throwing it to Stephon Gilmore's little brother at Marshall last year when they lost that game. Ty Simpson has never taken a snap in college football. They got Texas coming week 2. So this week, they're going to steamroll Middle Tennessee because physics is physics and science is science, and they're just better. But when it comes down to Alabama against teams that can run with them a little bit, because going back to bully ball, Jordy, when they were kicking people's ass in bully ball up and down the field, they had a monopoly on offensive linemen and defensive linemen. It was Alabama's OLDO, DL, step, the next best team. They don't have that monopoly anymore. You have an unproven quarterback, a new left tackle, a transition in identity and scheme, going back to a system that you don't have a monopoly where it matters the most anymore. So there's a lot of unknowns. But could they go 12-0? Yeah, it's Bama. Would anybody be surprised? But I don't think they're going 12-0 this year. I think they got a better chance of going 9-3.
Great energy. Beautiful lighting. It's great to have him back on a Friday. Last one. I'm going to ask you this every week as Jake Crain from Crain & Company is going to be with us every Friday at 8:15, so make sure and lock him in on the Jordy Culotta Show. Who's the best team in the country?
I think it's Michigan. We did our predictions a couple weeks ago. I've got Michigan beating LSU, who beat Texas in the playoff to win the national championship. I had a scout tell me they have 7 offensive linemen that could get drafted off this team.
Damn.
You return 2 legitimate running backs. You're legitimate at wideout. You have a top 5 defense most likely in the country. You're better at linebacker than you've been in a long time. I look at their schedule. Toughest game, in my opinion, is at Penn State. I think they beat Ohio State. Outside of that, Jim Harbaugh's just handed out hamburgers and smiles, the Hamburglar. So I think Michigan, from a balance standpoint, is the best team in the country that's going to be the healthiest when they get to the playoff. I think they beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. I got Wisconsin coming out of the Big Ten West. And I think they'll be healthy and hungry after learning what happened last year against TCU when they thought they could roll their helmet out and then go play in the national championship game. So give me Michigan.
He is a must-watch for college football lovers out there. The college football content coming out of Crain & Company is awesome. Make sure and subscribe to their channel, lock into their content, and you can catch him every Friday right here on our show, which we're looking forward to, man. The set looks awesome. Content's great. We'll talk to you next week.
Jordy, thank you guys so much. If you get a chance today, head over to Crain & Company, C-R-A-I-N, and Company on YouTube. We're almost to 100,000 subscribers. We're like less than 1,000 away, so we'd love to have your sub. Hey, it's me again. I'm asking for your vote. I approve this message. Thank you, Jordy.
You look awesome. There he is.
Thanks,
Jake
man.
Crain,
Y'all be good.
checking in from Crain & Company this morning. Great content for college football lovers out there. Go give him a subscription as they're just a little bit from 100,000 away. We'll be talking to him every single week. We'll be doing a little home and home with him. When he needs some LSU content, we'll be jumping on with him as well. So that was good stuff. Great to hear from him. Remember, we're live and brought to you daily by Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Our friends over at Barker Brothers have a 15% discount that you can save if you mention the show when you give them a call, 776-2431. 225-776-2431 is the phone number if you want to get in touch with our friends over at Barker Brothers. That is a full-service plumbing for you on commercial and residential whatever you may need, get in touch with Jude and the crew. That dials straight to his pocket, 225-776-2431. No website, no social media. You can go straight to Jude and the crew by just dialing that number, 225-776-2431. 225-776-2431 is the phone number. All right, we'll be back. We will close it out here on the Jordy Culotta Show. It's finally game week. We'll give you our prediction. We'll give you our thought on the game and get out of here, man. It is Friday. It's football weather. Felt fantastic outside this morning for as hot as it's been. When you step outside this morning on this Friday, it is a beautiful Friday morning for you heading into a weekend where you'll be able to cap it off on a Sunday night with the Tigers and Seminoles. We'll give you our picks next here on the show as we wrap it up on this game week live from the Click Here Digital Campus. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot. Oh, yeah. Sticking the roof in. Hey, Greg, roof up?
Roof's up. Roof's up. Roof's up.
Roof's up?
Roof's up.
Roof's up! Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
Pre-game meal.
Popeyes.
What would winning a national championship mean to you?
It would mean a lot to me because, we've seen a lot of the greats come through here, won their national championship, got, remembered for life.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Probably fly. That or telekinesis.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Do it wrong, do it long. Do it right, do it light.
Kyra Lacey, wide receiver, number 2.
Do you have any nicknames?
K2.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Stay humble.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly. I be flying in my dreams.
What's been the highlight of your partnership with us?
The bike giveaway was one of the best things. I was pretty excited about that one. Texas A&M, I just got a point to prove because last year I dropped 2 balls I should have caught. I'm coming for them for real.
That's it. Thank you, man.
My name is Harold Perkins, and I play linebacker.
What's your favorite pre-game meal or snack?
Pasta with a little steak, something that's not too heavy.
Any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
I pray a lot. Just be me and God before the game. Perky worky. I like when they call me the percolator. I like that.
If anyone gets in a wreck, who should they call?
Gore.
Thanks. Where were you born at, Greg?
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But I claim 504 food because I was raised there my whole life. Favorite type of food is spaghetti. But you need to try spaghetti with some corn on the side. Funniest person, I'd probably get Kyra Lacey. He be having me joked out every time I talk to him.
Who's the most athletic?
Besides myself, Perk or Malik. Future self, just take one day at a time, one step at a time. If you're doing something, just be where your feet are. Make sure you give 100% effort.
What is something on your bucket list?
Win a Super Bowl. That's definitely on my bucket list.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Time traveling.
Who's the fastest on the team?
Like in a short span, I would say quick trigger, I'm taking Perk. One thing most people don't know about me, probably that I moved 12 times growing up, 12 different states.
Who's the most savage on the team?
Mason Smith. Mason Smith, definitely.
And who gets it done?
Gordon.
Thank you, man. That's great.
Emory Jones, right tackle.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Got it from my mom, and she just told me, always keep your head on the swivel.
Favorite subject?
Math, easy. I kind of keep it light. Give me some type of red beans or something like that. Throw a little cornbread on the side.
Light with red beans.
Yeah, just a little bit. I am superstitious. I got some PSDs that's purple and yellow and white. I wear them every game. I feel like they my lucky draws, and you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep doing it.
All right, welcome back here. Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from the Click Here Digital Campus, brought to you daily by RMB Builders. Shout out to Rhett and the crew over at RMB, rmb-builders.com. We were talking about TCU and them cleaning up in the transfer portal this offseason and really doing a bang-up job of replacing an offensive coordinator in Garrett Riley who almost felt irreplaceable, I mean, to a degree, right? Like you never thought that Sonny Dykes would be able to kind of go out and replace that position with somebody with the reputation and kind of the name brand like Riley had. He did it. He went and got Kendall Briles, who, look, I understand that Briles is tied to some kind of unsavory stuff that I'm not trying to get into.
Speaking of hell. You can't be offended by the sins of your father. Everybody knows
no
that.
Doubt about
I
it,
didn't know
man.
anything about what he was doing.
That's
I was
right.
just a wee lad.
I was just here.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do?
He gave me his playbook.
Go away?
Yeah. You don't want these plays?
But he gets Kendall Briles in, and one of the guys that has a little bit of a local flair that you may not know, Bucky Richardson, growing up, was a high school standout at Broadmoor High School. I remember, when I was a kid, I probably do this job and probably fell in love with sports the way I did. First off, because of my mom's mom. My mom's mom is a sports fanatic. And I'm telling you, to this day, will call me and still talk about the third or fourth option in the NBA Finals on either side. I think the key to the game is going to be the power forward. the way that she keeps up
Eddie
with
House coming off the bench.
Yes, like would drop a name like Horace Grant. You know what I mean? Like she would be like able to like pick these names out and be like, that's the key to the series, and be like, man, she really loves it. But my uncle, my uncle, and her name is, we call her Milm, but her name is like Belle Cook. And she is a sports fanatic. She was a great basketball player coming out. Like she was out of this small little town in Louisiana called Georgetown, and she was a great little basketball player. Loves sports. But my uncle Mark Culotta, who runs a landscaping service here in town,
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Right.
Your uncle that loves college football.
His tagline is, "Where the greener the green, the better the grow."
Mean anything.
But he is still to this day a sports fanatic, and he was one of the ones that was bringing me to the game. Like my grandmother and I would just kind of watch it from our living room. We would just watch sports from the television, the couch, and she was sitting in her rocking chair. My uncle and I would like go to games, and the first game I remember him taking me to, no lie, the first sports memory I really have as a kid is walking into Memorial Stadium over there off of I-10, right next to the governor's mansion, and watching Broadmoor play Central High School, and Bucky Richardson was the quarterback for Broadmoor, and he was what would be considered today like a 5-star number 1 recruit in the country. And you got to think about this now. This is the mid to late 80s. This is probably like 86, 87. I mean, I'm a kid, like foggy memory of being a kid. And he goes to Texas A&M, Coach. Think about what Texas A&M was doing in the 80s. I mean, this is Eric Dickerson. They're handing out cowboy boots to everybody who's a recruit. I mean, they showed up at Eric Dickerson's house with a Camaro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were making no bones about it. Like, and they went and came and got Bucky Richardson out of Broadmoor High School. And still to this day, if you talk to people around that age demographic about Bucky Richardson went on to be the starting quarterback for Texas A&M and played in the NFL for the Houston Oilers for a minute. Like he did more than get a cup of coffee in the league. I mean, he stayed in the league for a while. He was from Baton Rouge. Well, his kid, John Paul Richardson, transferred to TCU this offseason from Oklahoma State. And he is actually playing in front of Jack Besh.
Wow. Team captain.
He is the slot receiver for TCU, transferred in from Oklahoma State, and talking to a couple of people that are close to TCU and on the staff, the reason why Besh can't get on the field like regularly is because John Paul Richardson, who's Bucky's son, little Baton Rouge tie, South Louisiana tie with a couple of slot receivers for TCU that are in pretty fierce battle, is keeping him off the field. So heads up and look out for even another transfer for TCU, John Paul Richardson. I don't know why I got off on that story, but Bucky Richardson's son.
Yeah, well, that's why. Tying it all together.
Yeah.
And with the TCU transfers that they're all bringing in, but Bucky apparently was an A&M legend.
Coach,
Jesus,
legend.
They love him.
He's a Broadmoor legend.
Right.
I mean, like, you bring his name up around like Rusty Price and that, even like Ryan Terrio. You know, I mean, like Trey Duncan. I mean, like they name their dogs Bucky. You know, I mean, like, I mean, some of their firstborns have middle names named Bucky.
Oh, Bucky's a golfer.
But he played for the Oilers like in the prime of their. Like the jerseys and the logo. It was so
Did you see Houston?
Sick. Yeah.
Cougars try to steal it?
No.
They went with a Oilers-themed uniform. I guess they... What do you mean how?
But they still have their color. They're still like red and white though, right?
With blue. They went baby blue with them.
Oh, that's...
They just went straight Oilers.
Get
Looks
outta
exactly
here.
like it. I don't know.
It's got to be a breach of something.
That's what I would think.
All right, let's get down to it. Picks for Sunday night. As we've said, I think this game comes down to who can make the bigger plays, right? Whose big-time playmaker is going to be a big-time playmaker? Who's going to step out there and really make a name for himself this Sunday night? It's the marquee matchup. It's the headline game. It's the one that everybody's watching. Everybody's going to be checked into LSU and Florida State come Sunday night. Tigers are favored by 2.5. I would take LSU in this one. I like the final score somewhere around 30-24, 31-24. LSU in a big play, firework type night just makes a play or two more than Florida State. I think it's gonna be a fun game to watch. It's going to be played in the air. It's going to have big-time playmakers making plays all over the place. You've got headline players on the field and guys like Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis. But I think when it comes down to it, LSU's got a little bit more firepower. I mean, when you go down the list of options, and that's what I'm basing my pick off of, is that LSU's got a little bit more option. When you get down to the third, fourth, maybe even fifth if they're running nickel cover guy for Florida State, do you have enough juice to keep up with guys like Kyron Lacey, Aaron Anderson, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Mason Taylor, Chris Hilton? I just don't think you do. Surprise me if you can. But I think LSU takes care of business in a really good game against Florida State. There's a little bit of revenge, but I think that ultimately both teams kind of find their way to the fourth quarter, and LSU makes a play or two more to win the game 30-24, 31-24. I think LSU covers. What's the number? What's the total number? 55.5?
I thought it was 65.
Is it 65?
I think so. Because that's a huge difference.
It is a huge difference.
But I'll check for you real quick. And that's the funniest part about this game, is it feels like, obviously, all LSU fans feel like they're going to win, but it also feels like you're on one side of the fence or other. It's either going to be extremely close or a blowout. There's no really in between.
I mean, I kind of think it's going to be a close game.
I do too. I got it 31-27. I think that it hovers. Yeah, it's 60. It's 65 because it hovers right around that over/under number and it hovers around the spread. I just don't see a world in which LSU goes there and does a Virginia Tech 2007, blows them out the gate where it's like, oh, they might be the best team in the country.
Yeah, right.
I think Florida State's too good, and it feels like LSU still. You haven't seen it yet. You want to see, obviously, LSU leaves on a high note. That's kind of what you expected to see against a Purdue team. Florida State's eons better than that. They're returning every advantage that LSU has. It feels like Florida has a counterpunch for. So that's why I think the game's going to be close because there are two tightly contested teams. The only advantage you would say you have is LSU's in the SEC. It's just a little bit different.
Look, I think you stack these two teams up next to one another. They're nearly mirror images. Mm-hmm. Of each side. I think when you look at Florida State, LSU, that's the sexiest part about the matchup. I mean, you're getting a real this feels like a playoff game.
Absolutely.
I mean, like this feels like a high level 3 versus 4, 1 versus 2, 2 versus 3 matchup. I mean, really like on paper, LSU being 5 and Florida State being 8, the people that rank that don't know shit. I mean, they don't know anything about that. They're just going off of what they saw last year, the reputation of the brands, the teams. You stack these teams right next to each other, they're just about equal. So, I mean, this is a big time early season matchup. You know, week 1, there's always that point where you gotta play through some stuff. When's the last time these two teams have really taken one another down to the ground? I know that LSU's having full contact scrimmages inside Tiger Stadium each Saturday. So, I mean, what's that? That's the last month? That's 4 times. 3 times they've done it, scrimmaged. Right? In practice, how much do they take each other and tackle to the ground? I don't know. But being as healthy as LSU is going into this game, probably not much. There's always going to be a little bit of a grace period for I mean, look at the NFL. Look at these preseason games. I mean, Jay and I went to the game last Sunday night. I mean, people are running through people as a flag football game. I mean, you have to kind of get accustomed to being physical and tackling. I mean, I'm not saying that it lasts all 4 quarters, but there's going to be some things that are happening in week 1 that don't happen in week 3. You know, week 1's just it's quirky, it's weird, it's.
You saw it with Florida last night.
You know, I mean, you just sometimes you're a little wobbly coming out of your corner. That's why I love week 0 games. Right? I mean, go work some of that stuff out. Know how you get off the bus. Know what it feels like to sleep in a hotel room. Know what it's like to go in the locker room and, get dressed before the game. I mean, all that stuff to me kind of means something. When you do that for the first time, you're nostalgic about it. You're in it. You're you know what I mean? It's kind of the first time we're in it. You know what I mean? You got these emotions where, I mean, it's like, all right, let's get this thing moving. When you've already had that you've already had to manage from a personality standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and it just takes a little bit more off the focus of that stuff and more on the game. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think even when you get to the game, it's a little bit of, hey, we're first time warming up, first time going through stretch drill, first time doing this stuff, and especially for a team like LSU, way out of your surroundings. I mean, you just been doing this stuff next to the Mississippi River for the last 4 weeks. Every single day, looking at the same wooden fence, looking at the same facility, looking at the same, trainer, looking at the same people that are just that you're doing this with. You step out there on Sunday, man. I mean, it's going to be 60,000 people dressed in, purple and gold and maroon and what is it, garnet and gold. What is it? Yeah, I mean, it's going to have it's just a lot of whoa, a lot of first time stuff. So the game sometimes, that's why kind of LSU, you look up, totally different team in the third and fourth quarter than they were in the first and second quarter last year in week one. Remember you're like, man, they're just going to run out of time. They're finally getting it together, but they're just, it's too late. There's always that sense of that, like kind of wobbling out of the corner, just trying to find your footing. So, there's...
And if you look back at what was some of the defensive woes last year, and what did you see in the Caleb Jackson run, the one that kind of seemed to highlight at least defensive effort and tackling, it's the tackling. The Anthony Richardson run is still playing on NFL Draft Network somewhere. But that was LSU's biggest issue, it felt like, when the defense was actually settled in. I feel like that was still a pervasive issue throughout the year. And then you see the Caleb Jackson highlight, look into that if you will, but that was a tackling issue. And then it's the first thing that Brian Kelly brought up in the presser. He's like, yeah, the run was incredible, but what I see is a lack of tackling.
Sure.
So that's what you should be concerned about, especially when the first game like this against Florida State, returning their running back. It's just some of those things are going to happen on the defensive end. You'd hope they get them cleaned up. And then you talk about getting in a routine. That's not in LSU's favor because that first time you go out there, nothing feels routine. It feels like you're taking everything in. You're not focused on the game. You're like, I'm excited to be here. Adrenaline's through the roof, but right. You're excited to put the uniform on. You're looking at it a little longer.
It's natural human emotion that you're going through for the first time. And just once you have an understanding of what to expect, it's just a little bit more natural.
Right.
Right? There's no curiosity to what and how you're going to react type emotion to it. So you have to, that's the thing about week one. That's the thing about all these preseason rankings. That's the stuff that you can't calculate. You can't weigh. You can't measure all of that, right?
One thing I do know that is measured as their conditioning.
Yeah.
From what we saw last year, and their health. But from what we saw last year, you talked about them being better in the third and fourth quarter. I think that was conditioning. That was 1 year in the program. This is year 2 in the program. And whatever they're doing is working. And so I'd imagine LSU in the third and fourth quarter, if they're not having to battle back like they did last year, where you're kind of fighting for your life, if LSU is able to keep it close in that scenario, then you can kind of pull away in the third and fourth quarter, which would be great to see.
All right, good to hear everybody this week, man. Thanks for everybody's interaction. I'm just looking at it and just got an alert from Jersey Tiger up in Jersey listening to the show. Just tweeted in a picture at Culotta Show watching this morning. Go Tigers. So it's good to hear from everybody around the country this morning. Good to hear from all the Seminole fans this week. Come back. Don't be a stranger throughout the year. We'd love to hear from you. It's fun when you all are up in here and causing and creating the interaction to go back and forth. Everybody just wants a good game on Sunday. I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get 2 solid programs going at one another. When you look at these 2 teams, like I said, they nearly mirror one another when they stand side by side. So from that alone, you're looking at just a fantastic early season matchup. Buckle up. We'll be talking about it Monday morning. Come back with us. We will be here Monday, bright and early, giving you our opinion, giving you our feedback, allowing you the feedback. We'd love to open up the phone lines on Monday mornings. I don't know if anybody's going to wake up with us on Labor Day and do that. We'll try it. But that's usually going to be our formula on Mondays. It's just kind of, we'll give our opinion. We'll give our reaction. And our regular schedule is probably going to be.
That's when I think we should do the calls.
Is on Sundays?
Mm-hmm.
Probably so.
Sunday nights.
We'll be back on Sunday nights doing some reaction. So obviously
Sunday night shows.
Obviously,
2 years ago.
we can't do the Sunday night this week with the game being Sunday night. So we'll do Monday morning. But regularly, we would like to do Sunday nights for sure, and that could be a good time for fan reaction. But everybody enjoy the weekend, man. Stay safe out there. Holiday weekend, 3-day weekend for a lot of people. Make sure and enjoy it. Rev the batteries back up, back to reality on Tuesday morning. And hopefully we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about come Monday morning with hopefully LSU improving to 1-0 on the season. But ultimately just a good game. Thanks for everybody for interacting this week, man. It was a great week. Great numbers, great interaction. So we appreciate everybody being out there. And if you're here for the first time and you have not subscribed, make sure and click that subscription before you get out of here. And you'll get our content. We appreciate you being here. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the holiday, and we'll talk to you Monday morning. Compliments of our friends over at R&B.
42-27 from Stewart.
Okay.
Hey, Chino, put my headphones up, bro. You right there. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. It's the hottest show around, we ain't gotta flex. Call up G, we get it done, we earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in, where they going next. Throw up the L's, now we lit, band playing neck. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live, mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.